How about giving clear, clean instructions to my player in the welcome message project using a beautifully formatted README file, the kind that I'm showing you on the screen right now. Notice this tells the player first to create a short code, but this is nicely formatted. There are headings. There are in fact code snippets that the player could use. For example, there's an example given. You could create short code using this call. In fact, the person can actually copy this and paste it in the screen. Next, we talk of the name strength. Once again, a Python code snippet is given. Next, we talk about the validate function. And then, of course, we just say, well, fingers crossed, because while these are all correct, this do not guarantee that the welcome message will actually come, as we have seen. Now, compare this to here, which is the class project, where all the instructions are given, but it's just not the same effect. The question is, how did we create such a nicely formatted README file? And how, and that's what we are going to look at in this video. Well, the idea here is very simple. We have used something called Markdown. You notice this README file is readme.md. When I open this in editor, it looks quite different. In fact, it looks like a text file, but you notice that there are some special markings which, when are rendered, appear differently. So when I look in the preview, I have a heading, I have a subheading, and so on and so forth. Before making this, let's just try to understand this format a little bit better. There is this very interesting website I came across. It's called makeareadme.com. This website itself is all about README files, and this must tell us how important README files actually are. In fact, it talks about what README files are, what could be good ones, and so on. But then it has this nice example of the Markdown, format that we are looking at. Notice if I want to get a heading, I give, for example, one, hash. If I get a subheading, I get two of these, and so on. If I want to write code, like for example here, import foobar and so on, Python code, I do it with 3 backticks. Wherever I want to end this, I put 3 backticks again. Now, clearly, if you have done HTML, you'll see the similarity between this and HTML. In fact, there is this other website I came across from Replit. It's called replit.com, Markdown, and so on. In fact, this itself is README. It talks about the Markdown template, and there's also this very nice link here which talks about the basic syntax overview. Again, that website is available for you, markdownguide.org/basic syntax. As expected, this is like HTML. In fact, they've done a nice comparison between Markdown and HTML. There is, a lot of things we can do, but the best way to learn any of this is by applying it. So let's get to the project that you're doing and apply some of this knowledge so that we can understand this whole thing much better. I come into my project. Now I'm going to create a README file. I just go and say, well, make a new file. Remember, it's going to be readme.md. Now that's an important part because we are using the Markdown format. The moment I do this, the moment I create this file, you notice I get readme.md, and there is a preview button over here. Now I'm going to just go with the text that I created previously. So, you can be more creative here. You can, do lots of things. Basically, remember, a single hashtag is like a big heading. 2 hashtags are like a subheading, and so on. And to write Python code, I just write Python, with these 3 hashtags, say Python, and then a Python command. If I look at the preview, I get the beautifully formatted header file, README file that I was looking at. Very, very interesting, very useful. README files are important in any projects, and you can in fact carry this knowledge to anything that you do later on. Obviously, be creative about this. You can make these instructions more, let's say, interesting. Here I've tried to give some examples, but you can approach it differently. You can say that, look, let's assume so and so person is coming to welcome himself. Create, let's say, welcome kit. Maybe this is the sequence you can go with, right? You can also give some data about, how, let's say, in case you're adding some new functions, you can add those here as well, right? And how could you go about them? What could be some good usage? Here I just said, for example, as a strength of your name, like long, creative, imaginative names, you could give some examples using, for example, Python code. Very, very interesting. Now, just in case you're wondering, why did we do this MD and not let's say a .txt? Well, we could actually create, let's say, a new file, readme.txt. But the thing is that is not really adding value because those instructions are already being provided here, right? So a txt file will look like a regular text file. Whereas Markdown is so beautiful, it looks like really appealing and the information is well organized. Now, since we have added this Markdown file, let's just, basically tell our player that, look, there is a README file. You may want to read the README file for instructions. And by the way, there's a convention that README is given in capital letters, and that's what I'm following. And then I also print, like, since I guess you may be lazy, here are the instructions anyways. So I just tell the player and I put a print over here. Now with this, it completes me. I do have a README file if somebody is interested to read. Like I said, you can make it interesting. I thought this is really nice because this knowledge can be taken to any kind of project that you're doing in future. The fact that there are websites talking about this tells you how important this is to give clear instructions, and README is a great vehicle for that. YBite is all about exploring, building, and learning, and that's exactly what we're doing over here. Look at our website www.ybite.in because we learn Python programming through such fun activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.